Lonely Monk Productions.
I don't know if y'all have heard Trust Your Gut by Worriers yet, but yo.
That's my Jawn! Hey yo, displace the...
What's good, friends and family, neighbors near and far? Welcome to an all-new episode of the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast. The podcast, website, brand, movement, way of life dedicated to the embrace and championing of your passions. I am your host, Nate Runkle, a.k.a. Robert Downey Jr., a.k.a. Nate 3.0, back at it again with yet another episode of the podcast. As always, I hope this podcast finds you all in good health and in good spirits. On today's episode, I have an incredible chat with Eric Bazilian of the Hooters. He was so incredibly generous with his time, and I love the conversation we had, and I can't wait to share it with you. But first, hello, my friends. If you're a longtime companion of the show, welcome back. And, if you're a newbie and this is your first dance with us, welcome. Hope you are all having an incredible summer that is already in August. Oh my God, this summer is speeding by. I swear to God, it was just May the other day, and then, I blinked, and all of a sudden I'm saying goodbye to July. Unreal. I had so much planned that I wanted to achieve this summer, and you want to know how much of it I started? Maybe 5%, which is fine. It's fine. I'm not going to sit here and beat myself up. I've had a crazy busy year, and I just got to be happy with all I've done and appreciate that, and just be ready to regroup and attack the rest of the year with the same focus I started it with. Everybody deserves a break. Well, how's by you? Are you taking care of yourselves, taking stock of where you are, and reaching out when you need a shoulder to lean on? Good. Let's all do our best to take care of ourselves and to take care of others. And I guess this is all on my mind because we've lost two greats since the last episode, Sinead O'Connor and Paul Reubens. And the loss of both of them has affected me, but in different ways. And if I can, I'd just kind of like to speak out loud about them for a bit. With Sinead, my heart broke as I saw the outpouring of love across the world for such a brilliant and tortured artist who dealt with a life and career where she was constantly shit on. And all I kept thinking through all of the praise and all of the tributes was, maybe she needed to see this. Maybe it shouldn't have had to take her death for us to tell her how important she was to us. To show her this love in the face of all of the mockery and all of the hatred she experienced throughout her time on this planet. I don't know that it would have created a different outcome, but I bet she could have used that. I just think we should try and strive to let the people we love know how much they mean to us while they're still here. Hell, even the people we passively like. That was kind of my desire to do this show, to be able to talk to people whose creativity has moved me, from idols to peers, and just be able to tell them, thank you. Thank you for creating something. Like the great Tupac once said, you are appreciated. And with Paul Reubens, Pee Wee Herman was such a staple in my life, not just in childhood, but through to this very day. He made being the weird kid feel a little less lonely. And the amount of smiles he put on not just my face, but the whole world's, God, it's otherworldly. I never wavered being a Pee Wee fan. Like Sinead, Paul experienced the derailment of a career due to scandal. But unlike her, in the past decade or so, he was able to reclaim the love and admiration that was seemingly lost in that movie theater in Miami all those years ago. He was able to bring Pee Wee Herman back from what we may call today cancellation and make a whole new generation of faces smile. He got to see how loved he was despite everything. But it's hard to process sorrow about someone who has brought so much joy to my entire life. So on the day he passed, I decided instead to smile in his honor, and I picked up my ukulele and I started strumming along and singing the theme song to Pee Wee's Playhouse. It's absolutely impossible to sing that song without a smile on your face. And if you follow me on the socials at Yo That's My Jawn, if you don't, you can check it out. You can see a reel of me doing just that, smiling and singing the theme as a tribute to the man who meant a whole heck of a lot to me. So to Paul and to Sinead, you will both be deeply missed. We're going to take a brief break and then my interview with Eric Bazilian. Yo, That's My Jawn is brought to you by Liquid IV. Guys, it is festival season. And you know me, I love a festival. And the secret to enjoying a festival is to stay hydrated. Liquid IV has you covered while you prep before, power through to the headliner, and recover after the weekend. Liquid IV hydrates 2 times faster than water alone with 3 times the electrolytes of traditional sports drinks. Man, I love Liquid IV. It comes in a convenient packaging and it's tasty. When you see me at the Exponential Music Festival this fall, you know that I will have Liquid IV on me. And it comes in 12 delicious, refreshing flavors to keep your hydration routine exciting. All right, strawberry used to be my favorite, but they have this new one. It's strawberry lemonade, and it is a banger. 1 stick of Liquid IV in 16 ounces of water hydrates you 2 times faster and more efficiently than water alone. It's non-GMO and free from gluten, dairy, and soy. Liquid IV believes that equitable access to clean and abundant water is the foundation of a healthier world. So Liquid IV partners with leading organizations for innovative solutions to help communities protect both their water and their futures. To date, Liquid IV has donated over 39 million servings in 50-plus countries around the world. Okay, and you can get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use the promo code YTMJ at checkout. That's 20% off anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using the promo code YTMJ at liquidiv.com. Do it, and let's get our fests on. My guest today is a musician, songwriter, arranger, producer, and founding member of the band The Hooters. Alongside Rob Hyman and Dave Usikkinen and a whole cast of others, he has performed all around the world on some of the largest stages of all time, including Live Aid, Amnesty International, and Roger Waters' 1990 performance of The Wall. As a songwriter, he has written and arranged for a diverse array of artists, ranging from Cyndi Lauper, Ricky Martin, and Billy Myers to Willie Nelson, Bon Jovi, and Robbie Williams. Most notably, he is responsible for writing the 1995 classic One of Us for the incredible Joan Osborne. Folks, it is my honor to welcome to the show Eric Bazilian. Ladies and gentlemen, I am joined today by the great Eric Bazilian. Eric, thank you so much for joining us on Yo, That's My Jawn.
Well, thanks. That is my Jawn. Thanks for having me. Your Jawn is my Jawn.
Oh, I love it. So before we get into anything, you just celebrated a birthday, a big one too, right?
Yeah. Coming up on it, man. It was really, it was a thing. And then I got through it and I was like, what happened? Oh, yeah. I'm the same guy I was the day before. So yeah.
That's right. Just another ring on the tree.
Yep, exactly. Well put.
I got to hear your guest DJ appearance on XPN to celebrate as well, which was fantastic with our pal Kristen Curtis. Some great choices in there, man.
Thanks, and that was half of it. I mean, I really had to kill some of my darlings. There were some songs that I really wish I'd gotten on there, but you only have so much time.
That's right. It's so true. So I always like to start these things kind of just telling people a little bit about a weird connection I have to them. And
oh, cool.
And for you, You're somebody who I've wanted to have you were like a dream guest on this show just because you've been in my life forever because you guys played my high school a few years before me, but you played North Penn High School, and
Wow.
and everyone talked about it. Like you were like just the talk, for like the next decade of people who went through that high school.
I remember that show very clearly too, because we were mixing Nervous Night in New York, and we drove down. We left New York City probably rush hour, like 5 o'clock. Came down, played the show, and drove back up to New York and went back into the studio like at 2 a.m. that night to listen to the mix that the engineer had been working on. That was a blast, and the show was great. It was packed. It was a big auditorium too, or a big gym, whatever we played in. It was a lot of people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And like I said, everybody, that was like a tale passed down. Like, did you know the Hooters played here? And
Yeah.
I got to play on that stage, so I get to tell people I played on a stage that the Hooters played on. So tell me a little bit about growing up. Where were you born?
I was born at the University of Pennsylvania Hospital. Right. Yeah. And I just ended up back there, and all three of my kids ended up back there, although none of them were born there. But yeah, I was born there. My dad was had just finished medical school there, in fact. So I guess that's where they took my mom, and I popped out there and grew up I think I lived the first year of my life in Feltonville, which is sort of, a lot of people don't know where that is. It's sort of like the gateway to Northeast Philly, like Roosevelt Boulevard, like in the letter, A Street, B Street, C Street. Then my dad was in the Army. We lived in Texas for a couple of years and then came back. And I lived for a year at Norristown State Hospital, a hospital for, I believe, the criminally insane, where my dad was a resident. And my dad was not a resident. He was a psychiatric resident.
Gotcha.
Doing his training, but we lived actually on the premises. And I remember, my friends were paranoid schizophrenics.
That's wild. That's absolutely wild.
So it really did prepare me for a life in rock and roll.
I was just gonna say, you probably it was like a welcoming home when you started meeting some of the people that you've bounced around with.
Yeah, and they were cool, And they weren't drooling.
And your mom was a classical pianist, is that correct?
Yeah, my mom was sort of a child prodigy. She went to Curtis when she was 9. I think she was the youngest student they'd ever had at that point. And she was studying at Penn. That's where she met my dad. And then they got married. She got married young, got pregnant with me, and then never went back to school and really never went back to performing. It turns out she loved playing piano, hated performing.
Really?
So I guess I got my love for performing from my very extroverted dad.
Did you start playing very early then in life?
Well, yeah. I mean, I started taking piano lessons probably when I was 6, but that didn't work out so well. The teacher and I did not hit it off, and I just lost patience one day and said, "Nope, I'm done." I always loved music though, and I would teach myself stuff. I taught myself how to read music a little bit. I remember playing West Side Story when I was probably 9. I think 8 or 9. I had the sheet music, learning how to play Maria. My mom helping me through the rough patches on that. And then I had an uncle, my father's brother, who taught me some guitar chords when I was 8 or 9, and that was really fun. And by the time I was 10, I learned how to play a couple of songs, and one of them was this Joan Baez song in Spanish called El Preso Número 9. And I didn't know that there was anything unusual about that, about a 10-year-old Anglophone being able to do that. So my uncle got me on the Gene London show, which was a local TV show in Philadelphia, and I performed it, I think pretty well. Unfortunately, all the tapes got destroyed when they moved the studio in the 70s. So it's all apocryphal. But, then I was 10 when the Beatles played on Ed Sullivan, and like every other boy in my generation, I saw that and went, I want to do that. And unlike most of the boys in my generation, I already knew how to play an instrument fairly well. So when I said I'm putting a band together the next day, I put a band together the next day.
Nice. What were you coming up with your own kind of creations at that point, or were you all just playing other stuff?
It was play the Beatles, a little bit of Animals, a little bit of Rolling Stones, whatever was out there. No, I didn't get into the songwriting thing that early. I mean, I knew that like the Beatles were songwriters. That was a big thing for them, but my brain wasn't developed enough yet to really capture what would have been necessary to get into that. So I just wanted to play guitar.
Can you remember the first Beatles song you learned?
Actually, I can. And it's funny because I didn't want to learn how to play the chords. I wanted to learn how to play the guitar solos. And the first one I learned was Till There Was You.
Really?
Which I don't know if you know how that one goes. Let me pick up a guitar. Do I have a guitar in tune here? I'm in my studio. I haven't been here all summer because I've been in Europe. But no, not that one. Yeah, that was close enough. So I actually, there were no YouTube tutorials.
Right.
I didn't even have a cassette machine that I could isolate a note. So I would take the needle, put it down approximately in the spot where the guitar solo started on the vinyl, find the first note. Da, that sounds right. Da, okay. Put the needle down. Da, da, no, da, da, okay. Da, 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 so on and so forth until I finally got, and so on and so forth.
Oh God, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It is.
It was labor intensive, let me tell you.
I was just going to say the work that we used to have to do to learn things like lyrics and songs just by breaking things down, whereas now it's like, just run it through some program and it'll give you the notes, it's unbelievable. So Ed Sullivan lights the spark and you kind of start that band. Is that a band where you start playing like parties and stuff like that and for friends, or just playing at home?
I mean, our first gig was actually our sixth grade graduation party at my house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and we did. I think we did 3 songs, and all of the 10 and 11-year-old girls really did chase us around the block.
That's awesome. So it's a success story, because it's
very minor success story. And then the following fall, that band played on the Gene London show.
Oh, so on there twice?
I was on there once by myself, and then once with my first band. We were called the Limestones because the John Lennon's band that Paul McCartney joined was the Quarrymen. I thought the Limestones would make sense. Yeah, it's just one of those flashes. But we played on the Gene London show, and I didn't tell anybody because I was embarrassed. But I think we were probably pretty good. We did A Hard Day's Night and House of the Rising Sun.
Wow.
And I remember that the line in House of the Rising Sun was, "In God I know I'm one." And Mr. London asked me if I could not sing the word God because that might be controversial. Could I please sing, "And me I know I'm one"? And of course I totally forgot and I sang God, and nobody ever said anything about it. But it was the beginning of a trend for me with the God thing, right?
Yeah, for real. It started early. It's funny you say that because everybody always goes straight to one of us, but like there thematically appears a lot, the evangelists in Satellite and even Saint Teresa, and like there's definitely a theme. Were you spiritual or are you currently? You got a couple hours. I was not. No, absolutely not. I mean, I was raised in a Reformed Jewish family, which basically meant you went to Sunday school and learned a little bit of Hebrew and heard some fun Bible stories, but not religious at all at that point. But for some reason, when I started writing songs,
these Bible stories started popping in, like All You Zombies. We wrote that January 1980. That is the oldest surviving Hooters song. And, those Moses, Noah, they just popped into our heads. I guess it's our collective subconscious. They're, more as cultural icons and, as religious things. But who knows, really? I've gone around the block with the whole thing, like from this can't be an accident to, yeah, this is all an accident.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always find it. We'll all find out someday, right? Like,
we will or we won't.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, that's very true. It's very true. So you're playing around in high school with the Limestones and stuff like that, and then you go to college. Does that break up the Limestones immediately, or did they last that long?
I think the Limestones lasted about as long as it takes to chip a limestone out of a quarry. I think we after Ed Sullivan, I don't think we did anything with that band. It was hard to find musicians. When you're 11 years old, it's hard to find guys who actually can play. The drummer wasn't a problem because really he just had to do that. Boom, bap, boom, bap, boom, bap. But to find I wanted to play bass because Paul McCartney was my first favorite Beatle. He looked like he was having a lot of fun, but, then I couldn't find a guitar player. So I figured it's easier to find somebody and teach him how to play 2 notes on the bass than find somebody and teach him how to play all 6 strings of the guitar.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So I spent, my junior high years trying to find people who could play. Finally, I was in junior year in high school. I found it was my first real band. It was a kid I met in Sunday school, a synagogue, who kept telling me that he was a singer and could write songs, and I didn't really believe him. And then somehow it turned out he was in high school with my drummer, who was my oldest friend. He was the guy I actually saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan with. I was at his house, and he had graduated from drums to bass. Turned out he was a rounded musician. Who'd have known? He wouldn't have known if it hadn't been for the Beatles. But he knew the same kid from high school, and he said, "You got to meet this kid, Paul. He's a great singer and a great rhythm guitar player." Like, okay. So we got together and like, wow, this kid can really sing. He doesn't have any aspirations to beat me as a shredding lead guitar player. He's happy to play rhythm. We found a great drummer, and Evil Seed was born.
Okay.
And why Evil Seed? We were not a hard rock band. That was the name of a, I guess you would call it back then we called it a dirty book. But it actually had something to do with this girl who was the spawn of Satan and was, would work her magic through carnal means.
Yes.
But we named our band for that book, and we were really good. We, if we did covers, it was Hendrix or Jeff Beck or Cream, a little bit of Beatles, but we had some really good original songs.
So did you what was kind of that early songwriting like? Were you kind of taking primary on or lead on that, or?
No, I wasn't, because again, I didn't really care about writing songs. That was Paul Vernick was the singer songwriter. Mm. I would do the arrangements. I would write the 10-minute instrumental part in the middle of the song. We actually had one song that was called Sandwich because it was my 10-minute instrumental composition sandwiched in between his little 2-minute verse and chorus.
That's great.
But that band lasted through junior year. We broke up senior year because there were other factors that came in then. Things that happened in the late 60s, early 70s that had to do with chemicals, and some people dealt with it better than others. I choose not to deal with it at all. I chose not to, but some in the band did not make that same choice, and things did not work out, which is very sad.
Yeah, and it's sadly a familiar story from those times too.
Yeah.
So you went to college for physics. How did you get there?
Well, again, I was the generation that it was expected that I would go to college after I graduated high school, and sort of semi-expected that I would be pre-med, like my daddy before me,
Yeah.
who really he didn't care, but my grandparents were all like, "Yeah, you're going to be a doctor." I just figured I'd go with the flow there. But in the meantime, I met Rob Hyman my first week of school in an electronic music class with a Moog synthesizer.
Nice.
And ironically, he walked into the room. I was sitting on the floor playing someone's acoustic guitar. And after we spent an hour and a half with the Moog synthesizer, we went upstairs to a piano and we jammed acoustically for the rest of the day.
That's crazy. So like it was like right away that you guys just connected.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was the first time. I remember this really clearly. It was the first time that I found a musician, a rock musician who, let's put it this way. All of a sudden, I wasn't the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was somebody who really challenged me, and jamming with him was like, I had to be on my toes. And so did he. It was really cool. I mean, I remember we really kind of looked at each other and went like, wow, did we just do that?
Yeah.
And he already had a band. He had a band called Wax that had a bit of a career already. I'd seen them a couple of times opening for different bands. I saw them open for the Byrds. And they'd had a record deal. They'd made a record. They'd broken up. They'd reformed into a version of a band that did not have a guitar player. So, hey, need a guitar player? I got one for you. So I joined that band, and we did some gigs. And then right at Rob graduated, and Rob and Rick Chertoff, who was the drummer in that band, they both graduated that year. And we tried keeping the band together for a while, but it ultimately broke up because we were trying to do cover gigs in South Jersey, and we were just not made to be a cover band.
The so then here's a very random question I have for you. Eventually that leads to Baby Grand, right? And
yes.
Baby Grand puts out Ancient Medicine, and I gotta ask, cover of Ancient Medicine, did when Questlove released his food book, were you like, hey, that's the cover of our album, just with you in vegetables?
Yeah. I mean, we weren't the first to do that. I mean, I think there's some Renaissance painter who did that.
Okay.
I remember, I think what was the name of the photographer? Matthew Freeman or something like that. But he had been doing photographs like that for magazines. So we just thought, let's get one for our album cover.
It's super cool. It's just a good look. So you guys, there what, 2 albums? Baby Grand?
Yeah, Baby Grand and then Ancient Medicine.
And then so what happened there that kind of split? Like, what was the
Well, we thought we were going to be the next Beatles, and we weren't.
Yeah.
I mean, musically it was, we're all incredibly proud of that. It was very advanced. It was sort of like Steely Dan on major steroids. Lyrically, it was kind of obscure. Musically, I wish we'd gotten paid by the note. But it wasn't really connecting. We put out 2 albums. Nobody really cared. We did some live shows, and sometimes it was great, and sometimes it was just, it just kind of went over people's heads or between their knees, whatever. But at some point, Rob and I just looked at each other and went, "Is this happening? I don't know if this is really happening." And we had a singer in the band who was a great singer, but for whatever reason, we just sort of felt like that maybe wasn't the key to the future for us. And we looked at each other and, can you sing lead? I don't know. Can you? I don't know. Maybe if we both do it, it'll work, and we can fool some people. And we've been fooling people for 43 years into thinking we're singers.
I was going to say it was a pretty successful decision. It turned out pretty well.
It did, And then, the question came up, musically, what road are we going to go down? Because Rob and I both were, we were technical players. We really wanted to push the envelope that way. But at the same time, we wanted an audience. We wanted people to have fun. We wanted people to dance. And, this was the end of 1979 going into 1980. And the British ska invasion had just begun. And we went and saw Madness. And it was revelatory. It was kind of like seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. And, we just said, as far as we knew, there were no bands in the U.S. that were doing ska. And Rob grew up going to Jamaica. He loved reggae music. He loved that whole culture. He'd been kind of trying to push me in that direction a little bit. I wasn't into the real slow down tempo reggae stuff, but the energy of ska was like, yeah, let's do this. And there was some sacrifice. We didn't get to shred the same way. We had to fit into that thing. And it was fun. From our first live show, the audience was going nuts. They'd never heard anything like it before.
There's just an energy to it that is so incredibly captivating. And I was completely blown away because, like I said, the Hooters has been a through line in my entire life, but I didn't know really about the early ska years. And
right.
I guess it was like a year or two ago, I'm reading the Mark Wasserman book, Skaboom. And I'm like, yeah. and all of a sudden there's a chapter on you guys. And I'm like, what the hell? And then then I started doing some research and all. And I was just like, because I was a huge ska fan, I still am. And so the fact that this was a blind spot of the fact that, two things I love, I never knew existed. It would be like finding out Reese's peanut butter cups exist after loving chocolate and peanut butter your entire life. It was really weird.
Wow. That's brilliant. Yeah. I might have to quote you on that.
You can have it. It's all yours.
Yeah. And really for the first couple of years, we were a dedicated ska band. Everything we did had to have that. And then there was All You Zombies, which wasn't ska. That was a one drop reggae. And we did a lot of reggae songs as well. I wrote some originals, a lot of reggae covers. And I think there are people that thought maybe we were ska traders at some point.
Really?
But it was never we never made a decision to not do ska anymore. It's just things evolved. I picked up a mandolin at one point, and all of a sudden we had And We Danced. We had that intro to And We Danced. We always had the melodica from the beginning. That's where the band got its name. Our friend was engineering our first demo session. He said, "Let me get a level on that Hooter." So, okay, we're going to call it a Hooter. We're going to call the band the Hooters. And that was something that, Augustus Pablo played a lot in reggae. That was a real signature sound for some reggae artists. Joe Jackson had used it. But we sort of moved beyond that. Actually, the Amore album has some ska, like a Concubine is a flat out, fast, up tempo, two-tone ska with a questionable misogynistic lyric, which,
Time changes, man.
Time, kind of like John Lennon writing "Run for Your Life," which he regretted writing because it's a horrible misogynistic lyric. But
yeah,
what are you going to do?
I got some in mind, but luckily nobody's ever heard mine. So
oh, good. Well, you're obscurity has its advantages.
Yeah.
But and the ska thing was always sort of there, and we would periodically, even in recent years, can we get back to the ska thing? And it was just we couldn't force it. We tried to force it a couple times. It didn't work. The band was also different. We had Bobby Woods and John Kuzma in the original band who, for whatever reason, that was the ska band. And by the time we evolved into the version with John Lilly and Fran Smith, and then later adding Tommy Williams as a sixth member, it was I don't know if we're ever going back there. Then last year, Rob and I write a song called "Why Won't You Call Me Back," and it's a ska.
Yeah.
And
it's a great song.
And it's a great one, and it's got a sax in it, which I learned how to play sax so that we wouldn't have to hire a sax player in the Hooters. And I learned 5 notes.
It's perfect. It's all you need.
And I've always played. We've tried to keep 1 or 2 sax songs in the show. It's kind of like a novelty thing. But all of a sudden here, I got to start taking the instrument seriously again. And there's a lot of skill. The lip thing, man, took me. I'm still working on getting that back.
Yeah, I was a clarinet player, and I've tried to pick it back up every once in a while, and I'm just like, oh no, I guess those days are gone. Same thing with I played horn, I played low brass. I was a baritone player, and
Cool.
and you know, I used to be able to play that in my sleep, and now like I'm like, that's not a note. Whatever I just tried to do there, that's not a note.
It will come back. I mean, if you want to, it will come back.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking about the new album, though, one of the things that completely blew my mind and fascinated me was you guys imported the 4-track Porta Studio demos into Pro Tools to
Yeah.
work on some of this.
Yeah.
How how what is it like
How?
playing with? It's like time travel, man. Like how?
It crazy. Well, I mean, first of all, we had to find a working Porta Studio
Yeah.
because mine, the original one, had died. The rubber pulleys disintegrate, and I'd had it restored a few years back, but then the motor died. So we went on Reverb and found one. 3 days later, we got it. It worked, and it was really amazing. Pulling up like the Pete Rose demo, which I mean, the story behind Pete Rose. First of all, who's Pete Rose? Some people know, some people don't. He was what got the Phillies into the World Series in 1980, and I wrote that song in my head while he was hitting that home run
Oh, it's amazing.
during the playoff game. I heard the whole thing in my head, and we played the song live for a while, and then 2 years later, 1982, after I'd gotten my Porta Studio, I decided to do a demo. Just learning, in learning how to use the Porta Studio, I'm going to do a demo of Pete Rose. So I had an 808 drum machine, and I programmed the beat and recorded that with a bass, and then I recorded an electric guitar and the sax, into a crappy little SM57 into a handmade compressor that I built from a kit, and even the vocal in the beginning, because all of these ska instrumentals, they would have a name like James Bond. Ta-da, ta-da. So this was Pete Rose. And the vocal on our record is from that original demo. It's me in 1982 going, Pete Rose.
Unbelievable.
And we kept as much as we could from that, but we ended up keeping the lead guitar and the sax from 1982. And built the band around that.
That's wild. What is there an emotional kind of reaction to working with that stuff? Like, because I can only imagine, like, it's like duetting with a younger version of yourself.
Yeah. It made me really happy to see that I was having that much fun back then.
Yeah.
Because if anything, sometimes I think, now that we've gotten back to this place where we're playing this fun music and having this party again, I feel sometimes we might have lost the plot a little bit. We might have taken ourselves a little too seriously at times. I think it's a trap that everyone falls into at some point. But getting back to that and just hearing the joy, and I remember where I was. We were house sitting for a friend in Westchester, and I remember I had everything set up on the floor. And I'm like, wow, I can do this. I can make a record in the living room.
That's so cool. So you guys started releasing singles and back then, and then MMR starts, playing you a lot. And then somehow you end up opening for The Who and The Clash and Santana at JFK. Like, how does that happen?
Hard work.
Well, obviously.
Actually, really, yeah, hard work and some luck. We about 2 weeks into the band's existence, we made our first demo. We did just 8 songs live to 2-track, and one of them got over to MMR. Michael Tierson had locked the doors of the studio, said, "I'm only going to play music I want to play," and he called Rob up and said, "You got anything from your new band?" And Rob went down, 10 o'clock at night, and Michael Tierson played Man in the Street, a cover of a ska instrumental with my first sax solo. I'd been playing sax for 2 weeks at that point. And not only did Michael play it, it found its way into regular rotation. So all of a sudden, they're playing us on the radio. And our live shows just kept getting bigger and bigger. We were playing 5 nights a week at Verner's Lounge in Levittown, 4 sets a night. And the shows just got bigger and bigger. It was a crazy mix in the audience because we had local bikers up in Levittown, kind of a tough area back then. But then the Jamaicans heard about us, so we'd have all these dreadlock Rastas coming up from West Philly, dancing next to these bikers. It was amazing. It's like, why can't the world be like that now?
That's what I always feel about ska music, and I always try to explain to people is it's such a joyous form, and it brings so many different people together that I'll never understand where the hatred for it comes or where the disdain. It just makes no sense. I talked to the guys. I don't know if you're familiar with Catbite at all, but I talked to them about it last year. I just don't get it. Why something that brings so many people so much joy is just shit on so much.
The thing about ska is there is a line. It's easy for it to move become a cliche of itself, into kitsch. Mm-hmm. And you got to be real careful with that. I think Catbite are successful in navigating that. Part of it, they've got a sense of humor about themselves. They do Catfight, they do Cat Light.
Yeah.
But ska can be very limiting, and there's a bit of a not elitism. What's the word I'm looking for? But where if you're not pure ska, you suck.
Yeah.
There's a bit of that attitude too. So it kind of works both ways.
That's a good point. It's a really good point.
But to get back to how do we get from Vernon's to JFK Stadium? MMR helped a lot. Then we did our first single. We did Fighting on the Same Side. Same thing with that. They got behind it. By then we were playing Monday nights at Grendel's Lair, 5th and South. And moving into the city, our first week maybe we had 40 people. Second week maybe we had 60. Within a few months, the line was around the block. It was like the Beatles at the Cavern. I mean, it was really crazy, and we just kept putting out singles, and MMR stayed behind us. 1982 rolls around. The Who is playing at JFK Stadium with The Clash and Santana, and all of a sudden we're on the bill too.
That's amazing. I don't even know how you mentally kind of process that jump. But it speaks to, your skill as a band, and much like you were saying in the Cavern, playing 4 sets a night, 5 days a week, you had to have been ready for it, for when Malcolm Gladwell's, 10,000 hours.
10,000 hours. We got our 10,000 hours. That's for sure. No, that's we were ready, and I was gobsmacked to be on stage with the same stage that the Who were going to play on. Seeing the Who, I saw the Who live for the first time in May of '69, the day Tommy was released, and I guess I was 15, and that was as powerful as the Beatles on Ed Sullivan for me. It was the loudest thing I'd ever heard, but just the energy that they had was unbelievable. And Tommy, I just read Pete Townshend's interview in Rolling Stone about Tommy, so I kind of knew the process that had gone into it. And that was one of the things that really got me interested in songwriting, finally. After years of just wanting to play guitar and, arrange music, suddenly, I got a window into his process and taking bits of earlier songs and, do recombinant DNA. And finding this concept, this sort of science fiction concept based on Robert Heinlein, who I was a big fan of at the time. So we're going to play with the Who. Now, Pete Townsend turns out was not the most approachable guy in the world, so I kind of left him alone. So I actually didn't get to meet them, but we did get a nice picture taken with Mick Jagger, who came to the show. And now 40 some years later, I am friendly with Pete Townsend. We email. He's very cordial, and he's been very helpful, and apparently he's a big fan. So,
that's awesome. Did he remember that show, or you guys playing?
We have not. I tread lightly with him. I don't want to say any more than necessary. But he was very helpful. When I was having some vocal issues, he put me in touch with Roger last spring, right before we went on tour. And Roger was amazing. Just he hooked me up with he's sort of the Yoda of ear, nose, and throat doctors in Boston, who said I went to see. He squeezed me in. He said basically the good news and bad news are the same thing. There's nothing wrong with your voice. You just got to learn to use it better.
Yeah. That's wild. Yeah, and that's got to be a scary thing. Like when the thing that you've made your life around essentially, all of a sudden doesn't want to work like it used to. Like, yeah, it's terrifying. And fortunately, by the time we got to Germany, it was working great. And then 2 days after the tour ended, I got laryngitis. Really?
And in fact, I'm still like. I'm living on a prayer here, to quote my friend Desmond Child, that because day after tomorrow I'm going to be on stage in Youngstown, Ohio, and it better work.
Yeah. So you guys then do Amore, and then Nervous Night comes, and then everything blows up, and then you're playing on some of the biggest stages, the most viewed shows of all time. Andy King was on the show last year. We're disc golf buddies, and he was telling us some stories, some backstage stories. But what was the process or the day of Live Aid like for you, like mentally, like?
Complicated.
Yeah,
it was complicated. There was a lot going on that day for me personally, which kind of was like a smokescreen between me and what was actually happening at Live Aid. I actually saw most of the show on TV at home.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, plus it was brutally hot out. And after a while, it was just kind of like, I'd like to be able to see what's going on stage and hear the music. So I drove home. Was living in the city, 15 minutes. I'm home. I drove back down at the end for the finale. Our actual performance was a total blur.
Yeah.
we were on stage for 10 minutes.
Yeah. And then I guess Geldof didn't want you guys there. Is that true, or is that like a? Quite literally, the first line of the one feature that Rolling Stone did on us says, "Who the fuck are the Hooters?" said Bob Geldof when he saw the schedule for the Philadelphia lineup of Live Aid. Now, if I were Bob Geldof and I saw a band called the Hooters that I'd never heard of, I probably would have gone, "Who the fuck are the Hooters?" Yeah.
I don't think he wanted or didn't want us on the show. I think he just didn't know who the fuck we were and asked.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, the fact that he chose to omit us from the DVD when that was released 20 years later, I wish that had gone the other way.
Yeah, sure.
And ironically, I mean, and Andy wouldn't know this because he was gone by then, but the week that was released, Bob Geldof opened for us in Germany.
Oh my God.
He opened for us at a club, and he kept himself scarce.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one time we crossed in a hallway, he just like kind of sheepishly looked away. Like he knew he shit the bed.
Yeah. God damn. That's crazy. That's just crazy. That's absolutely crazy. I'm going to show you just because I'm a goof and no one else can see this, but I've got my my vinyl here of On My Home. So Satellite becomes like your ticket to Europe. Like that kind of breaks you in Europe. Is that right?
Johnny B was our ticket to Germany.
Okay.
Satellite was our ticket to the UK. Okay. Unfortunately, our ride in the UK was very brief.
Yeah.
We got to ride first class for about 15 minutes. And then for whatever reason, it didn't take in the UK. Germany, on the other hand, is the gift that has continued to keep on giving.
Yeah. And then Johnny B, directed by a young unknown David Fincher. Is that right?
That's right. How about that?
My God. You gotta call him back up and get some placement.
Oh, yeah. Come on, Dave. Where's that sequel to 7, 8?
There it is. But so you guys, at a certain point, kind of take a break, and you just start writing. You guys start writing. I mean, even before that, obviously the Cyndi Lauper album and whatnot. But but it's funny to me that like something that you were so reluctant to do early on became such a dominant thing in your life, kind of working with other people and all. And one of the things that I recognize is you write really well for and with females. Is there anything? I guess what's the magic in that potion that just kind of clicks for you? Because like it just some of the stuff you've been able to put out. I mean, like even the stuff you're currently doing, like the stuff with Alexis, like is just like it's phenomenal, and there's just like a connection there that.
I like girls. Girls like me. I mean, I've had some great collaborations with guys. I mean, I wrote Robbie Williams' first single.
I was just gonna. That's also on my list because I like to say that I'm U.S.'s #1 Robbie Williams fan. Like I'm the only one because it seems like everybody else I talk to, they're like, who? And I'm like, God damn it! Like, and I'm shaking the shit out of people. But generally, yeah. I mean, I've had more successful collaborations with women. I connect with them in a really significant way. Like Amanda Marshall, I loved working with her, and we're still in touch. She just put her first album over 20 years out, and I'm really happy for her. It's great. She sounds better than ever. But yeah, I guess it's just a chemistry thing. I like looking at girls better than I like looking at boys. Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, it can be the basic. It can be down to the essence. So we touched a bit upon the new album, but you guys just toured Europe with it. How were those shows? Like, how's this stuff playing live?
Playing it live is great. It's a blast. Aside from the challenge of me having to actually execute the sax parts every night, which I've gotten to. The interesting thing about playing in Europe is they don't know the ska history of the band. In Germany, One Way Home was the first successful album, which is really where we got deep into the folk rock thing. Sweden, 500 Miles is the biggest hit, which is a deep reggae groove. Though they don't really know it's a reggae groove.
Yeah, I can see that. But, it's like a secret.
It's a secret reggae. Yeah. So we were curious. Okay, how are they going to take the ska thing? And Rob would explain. We started out as a ska band, and we're back to our roots, and the audience loved it. They loved it. Now I'm sure you noticed that we did a couple of reboots on the album.
Yes.
So Engine 999, which the Germans loved anyway, so they sing along with it. I don't know. I bet half of them didn't even notice it as a completely different arrangement. They just knew, they're doing Engine 999 again. Yes, let's sing along. Engine 999.
Yeah, and then also the Brother Don't Walk Away just sounds absolutely stellar. So like kind of rewriting or rearranging things into ska songs. Are there any that didn't make that you had tried that didn't work?
There were others that we tried that did work, and we just didn't have time to put them on the album.
Oh yeah.
So there might be a volume 2.
I hope so. I love it, man. It's
it all worked. We had to mess around a bit. I think Engine 999 we might have tried to do as a reggae first, and then landed on the ska thing. I'm very proud of that one. The guitar part on that I think is one of my finer moments in recent history. That sort of Andy Summers like arpeggio that not a lot of people play like that. I'm proud to be one of the few. And then, just finding a way that, that felt good to sing it. Because originally, when we recorded those songs, we recorded them in the highest key we could possibly scream. Mm-hmm. And after a while, it's like, why are we trying so hard? Let's just make this easy on ourselves.
Yeah, I forget what song it was. Somebody was just telling me that they saw Billy Joel, and he right before he started singing, he was like, when I wrote this song when I was 19, I didn't expect to be singing or having to sing that note at this age,
Yeah.
But I'll give it a shot. My favorite, I gotta tell you, my favorite song in the album is "Splice Up the Dance." Like it just that song just swings, man. That is a beautiful track.
Well, I'll tell you the story about Splice Up the Dance. Do you know what splice is?
Like
have you heard
tape,
of splice?
Like tape splicing, or?
Well, okay, it's an online subscription service. Basically, you pay them monthly, and you have access to loops, one shots of drums, guitars, basses, vocals, entire choruses. It's royalty free. You can literally pull, and you just pull it into your recording software, and it'll automatically put it at the right tempo, change the key for you. I mean, it's crazy. It's like AI, scary AI. So Rob and I decided to just sort of mess around with it and see how far we could go. And that's the track. Basically, that entire track is Splice. We did end up playing on it. We sing on it, obviously. That the hook is us. Rob played a little bit of organ on it. I played a little bit of bass, a little bit of guitar, a little bit of sax. But like that guy in the beginning, the toaster, when you hear this song, I would that we have no idea who that guy is.
Oh my God, that's intense, man. That's
and it's royalty free, so it's like, yeah. Wow. And the title is a play on "Nice Up the Dance," is an old reggae song that we used to cover, so it became "Splice Up the Dance." Phenomenal. But it's and it was so crazy. We had to put it on the record.
That's so crazy. That's absolutely wild. So we, my wife and I recently got to see you guys, as a surprise, as part of the Philly Music Fest, with Low Cut Connie. And, that was just another amazing night. I kind of had a spoiler. Greg Seltzer, who puts together the Philly Music Fest, was a guest on the show, and he was like, Adam has a great surprise for Philly, and it's going to blow people away, and I don't want to tell you. And then after the show was over, he was like, by the way, it's the fucking Hooters. And I was like, oh my God. But the energy in the room when he announced you guys coming out was just like an absolute surprise. Like, and to see you guys in that tiny little World Cafe room was just incredible. How did that come about?
We're pals with Adam. We hang out, and he asked, and we said, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, he's great. I'm actually trying to get him on the show. We're before Art Dealers comes out, because I feel like this album is going to be something special. I mean, the three songs I've heard off of it so far are absolutely stellar. I'm a big fan of theirs.
Yeah, me too. It's like anybody, they're a hit away. They're one song away from being, getting where they need to get.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to ask him is, the Tough Cookies stuff that he did over the pandemic. I would like to think that somebody reached out to him about hosting a show, because I felt like that was the perfect showcase of just what a consummate performer he is.
Yeah.
So at this time, if you will, we'll enter the Jauntlet. These are my stock questions that I ask everyone. The first section, the one hit wonders, just puts you're just going to pick a favorite. Number one, Billy Joel or Elton John?
Oh man, that's a really tough one. I'm going to punt and say Billy Joel and Elton John.
All right, I'll take it. Number two, Debbie Harry or Joan Jett?
Ooh man, these are tough. I'd have to say Joan Jett.
Yeah. Okay. Staying local. I like it.
Yeah. By a hair.
Number three, Aretha Franklin or Tina Turner?
Oh, you're killing me here. Probably not a popular answer, but I'd have to say Tina Turner.
All right. I respect it. Nirvana or Pearl Jam?
Oh, Nirvana. That's like saying Beatles or Dave Clark 5. Actually, no, that's doing a disservice to the Dave Clark 5.
Wow. Shots fired. Janis Joplin or Stevie Nicks?
Janis Joplin.
All right.
No contest.
Right. I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this one, but Beatles or the Stones?
For me, Beatles.
Yeah.
I have people I know people who would say Stones, and I won't say I respect them for it, but I respect their freedom of choice.
Yes. Okay.
And I hope that they'll see the light someday.
Last one of the one-hit wonders, Bohemian Rhapsody or Stairway to Heaven?
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
Hands down. Stairway to Heaven, great guitar solo, great guitars, great intro. God, I'm going to take a lot of shit for this, but I never loved Robert Plant's voice.
Okay. All right. That's acceptable.
I mean, here's the deal. For me, one came around a copy of the Jeff Beck group with Rod Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
I know I could get crucified for that, but it's like, Rod Stewart or Robert Plant, come on. I mean, the first time you heard Rod Stewart's voice, it was like, what the fuck was that moment? It was the Beatles on Ed Sullivan moment. It was the Who at the Electric Factory. It was Springsteen at Uncle Al's Earlton Lounge in 1973.
Yeah. All right.
Which was a whole other story.
I respect it. The last section is the top 10 countdown, but I know you're on a time crunch here, so I'm gonna truncate this because there's only one question that I've been dying to ask you that is part of my stock questions I ask everyone, and it's mostly because I want you to tell these people who don't know the answer to this. But my number 3 on this is what was your first concert?
The Beatles.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. I saw the Beatles at the Baltimore Convention Center because I had a cousin. My mother's cousin was a disc jockey in Norfolk, Virginia, and he got us in. He almost got us to meet them.
Oh my God, that's incredible! What year was that?
That was 64, August 64.
Wow, and
September 64. I know.
How do you ever go to a live show again after that? Like, that's just, you hit the jackpot on right out the gate.
I know, really. It was, kind of like losing your virginity to, whoever the iconic beauty of the time is. And you know what? They were great. The Beatles were great. Yeah, they sang great. They played great. They couldn't hear themselves. It didn't matter.
That's great.
They were all that.
That's fantastic. Well, I let me let you get to your vocal coach and stuff like that.
Yeah, as long I'm in the car, as long as I'm another 8 minutes away, so keep them coming.
All right, sure. All right, well, I'll back up. Number 1, what was your first Jawn? What was the first thing you were obsessed with when you were a kid?
First thing I was obsessed with when I was a kid?
Oh, I might have lost you vocally.
No, now you're on the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth in the car. The first thing I was obsessed with as a kid was Zorro.
Really? Okay.
Yes. I was 4 years old. I wanted to be Zorro. And actually, thinking about it, in the Nervous Night days of the Hooters, I kind of looked like Zorro.
Yeah, I could see it. That's awesome. Number 2, what's your current Jawn? What are you into right now?
I'm into being in the Hooters.
Yeah?
And yeah, I mean, are we talking musically, culturally?
Yeah, whatever moves you.
Musically, it's tough, man. It's Slim Pickens out there. Not a lot of contemporary singers, in my imagination. I like Catfight. I would actually like to work with them. I have an idea for a song that I'd like to try doing with them. Billie Eilish, I think, is amazing. I think she's the great hope for the future. She's the one timeless voice that I've heard in a long time, unique and timeless. And I think she and Phineas actually write real songs that may stand the test of time.
I agree with it 100%, man. I'm going to skip some of these. Number 7 on this is, what's an unappreciated Jawn? What's something you wish more people paid more attention to?
The Hooters. That was a low and inside. Something I wish people would pay more attention to. That's good. I wish they'd pay more attention to each other. I wish people would pay more attention to how other people live, different cultures, different, ethnically, racially, religiously, pay attention to the fact that these are actually human beings that we're, hating on and ridiculing for whatever reason.
Beautiful answer. I'm jumping around numbers. Name an artist whose output you'll consume anything they release, living or dead.
Oh, the Beatles, obviously. Living, Billie Eilish. I'll consume Billie Eilish. The last rock band that really got me excited was King Tut. You know them?
No.
King Tut, Tuff. I heard a song on actually it was a live studio recording of a song called Black Moon Sun on XPN, and it kind of reminded me of T-Rex a little bit, but with some more bottom end.
Okay.
I got into them. They their output has been kind of. I don't love everything they've done, but I'll keep listening to them. And Joe Jackson, I don't love everything he's done, but everything he has done has been great.
Yeah, my favorite thing about him is that like each time a new album comes out, I never know what to expect. Like it's always just like, what are we getting into this week, Joe? Like,
Yes, which Joe are we getting today?
yeah, exactly, and I love very multifaceted versions of him too, like for all different reasons, different moods, different reasons. So we actually ran out of time, and you can hear there's some cellular dropouts here and stuff like that. But Eric was super cool and gracious and actually called me back later so that we could finish the jauntlet and the rest of the interview. So for you now, here is the rest of the interview. But yeah, so we'll pick back up. I got some more of those top 10 countdowns that we can get through here.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So another one you did first concert was the Beatles. Number 4, what was your last concert? What was the last live show you saw?
Oh, that I actually went out to see.
Yeah.
Do other acts on festivals that we play count?
Totally. Absolutely.
Actually, yeah. I mean, I was really impressed by Larkin Poe. Do you know them?
No, yes.
Yeah. I first saw them, playing at the casino in Chester. They were part of Christian Bush. He's a country artist. He's half of Sugarland.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they were playing in his band, and I was just blown away by them then. This was 2013, and I've just watched them develop along the way. And then we did a festival with them in Germany, and they were just, man, all the right things for all the right reasons. And, talk about just being a hit song away from it, because they're the real deal.
Yeah, I haven't seen them live, but I can only imagine how good they sound.
They just, they shred, and they're sassy, and they sing great. Yeah.
Awesome.
They look great. Yeah.
Number 5, what was your favorite concert? What was the best live show you ever saw?
Wow. Highlights. I mean, the two that probably are the most memorable to me are, when I saw The Who doing Tommy for the first time at the Electric Factory in May of 69. And then the first time I saw Springsteen, which was at Uncle Al's Earlton Lounge. It was a bowling alley in New Jersey. This was like August of 73. And I wasn't prepared. I had heard a little bit on the radio. To me, it just kind of sounded like another New Dylan kind of acoustic guitar-y thing. And by the third song, I was sold. I was just like, wow. And the show just went on and on. And, I was so impressed, not just by his, his presence and his songs and his singing, but his guitar playing and the arrangements. Like he and Clarence just doing these, harmony, guitar, sax, harmony and unison lines. It was just, the musicality was just mind blowing.
It's one of the things that, like, not just in popular music, but in music in general, that, like, I really miss. And, like, I was talking to somebody about this recently. Like, you listen to, like, Steinman's pieces on Bat Out of Hell, and you listen to, like, early Springsteen and stuff like that. And, like, scenes from an Italian restaurant. And, like, there used to just be an epic nature to music. Yep. And it's just gone. Like, and I know that, we're just getting more and more disposable to try to fit in a 30-second TikTok video or something like that. Yeah. But like, I really do miss like just the kind of behemoth epic song that, you'd always get like at least one on an album,
I was a big fan of Yes, during their peak years. I would listen, I remember when Close to the Edge came out, man. What's that? The 3 songs total. I mean,
Yeah.
that lived on my turntable for days. Just trying to get inside it and, understand what was going on,
Yeah.
And I got to give honorable mention to a few of the Dead shows that I saw. I saw the Dead a bunch of times in the early 70s. And when they were good, they were amazing. The room would levitate.
Wow.
Then the rest of the time it was like really, what did the Deadhead say when he ran out of drugs? This band sucks.
Yeah. It's funny and it's true. Like it's really weird. Like bands like that where you're just like, well, what version did you get tonight? Because it could, like you said, it could either be the most magical experience ever, or it could be like, are they still able to do this? Or
I mean, that's funny. I'm wearing the Dark Star Deadco shirt because my daughter, who was the last person I would have ever expected to see anything Dead related. Her best friend dragged her to see Dead and Company with John Mayer, and she was really impressed.
Yeah, I have a few friends.
I wish I'd had the chance to see it because I think John Mayer is jealousy, hatred, because I always wanted that gig.
Yeah,
I wanted to be Jerry Garcia in tune, the in tune, not tripping version.
Yeah. Well,
no, I think Jerry's one of the most underrated guitar players of all time.
Definitely.
I mean, outside of the Dead community who idolized him, he was an amazing guitar player, really innovative, and he had soul, and he really had chops. And I don't care what anybody says, I loved him.
Yeah, and his improvisation skills were just like unmatched, really, and like he masked it a lot too. Like you would go back and like I think about some of the live versions of Eyes of the World that I've heard, and he's just completely painting a picture that like is just so understated on some of those recordings.
Yeah. Yep.
Number 6, who you never seen live that you wish you would have? They can be living or dead. I mean, you saw the Beatles, so for fuck's sake.
That's a tough one. Let me think. Let's think Dead. I mean, I saw the Beatles. I saw the Stones with Brian Jones. I saw Aretha actually.
Oh, jeez.
There's got to be somebody. I saw Dylan when he was good. Here's a good story. Dylan actually called and asked me to play guitar in his band, and I said no.
No way.
I already had a band. I had a gig already.
Oh my God! What year? Like what era?
1990. Because
Okay.
G.E. Smith was playing guitar with him at the time, and George and I are friends, and we did a festival together with them in Finland, and and G.E. told me he was probably going to go back to Saturday Night Live. And a few days later, we were in Tokyo. I get a call from GE saying, I gave your number to Bob Dylan. Is that all right? He's going to call you.
Oh, my God.
So we talked a couple times. And, it would have been cool. But I think it's even cooler to say I said no to Bob
You
Dylan.
said no, 100%, man. That's a story.
Yeah. No, actually, who I wish I had gotten to see Johann Sebastian Bach perform.
That's a good one.
I've gotten into him. That was sort of my pandemic thing. I learned how to play the violin sonatas on mandolin. I put a ton of that shit up on YouTube and on Instagram, and it was a commitment. I'm still working on it, but just to trying to imagine like the brain and to have the skill to be able to play that shit. I would give anything to be able to witness that.
Yeah, it always amazes me too that like those guys were able to write those things without having a full orchestra at your fingertips to be able to imagine it all. Just based on notes and whatnot.
Yeah.
And like it's a level of theory that like I just I'm lamenting a 7-minute rock song, but like the epic nature of some of those symphonies, man.
I mean the Chaconne movement of the D minor violin sonata. If I play it at moderate tempo, it's 15 minutes long. This is one movement of a violin sonata for solo violin, and it does not get boring.
It's incredible. That is incredible. Number 8, what's your favorite album? Do you have a favorite album of all time?
Revolver.
Yeah. It's an interesting choice because like I feel like it's part of the perfect marriage of later Beatles with early Beatles. Like there's still some fingerprints of the early years in there, you know?
Yeah. They were still a rock band. They were still a rock band when they did Pepper, and I love Pepper. Don't get me wrong, but I just like the aesthetic of Revolver or even Rubber Soul. I mean, it's kind of they're kind of one album. I mean, God, they did them both in the same year.
How crazy is that, right? We did that one. Oh, so the last one is what is your favorite Jawn of all time? Doesn't have to be music, can be anything you want it to be.
No, my favorite Jawn of all time is music.
Yeah.
And it's not just listening to music and playing music, it's living music. It's the relationships that I have with the other people who play music. It's the relationship I have with myself and trying to, push myself when I need to be pushed and give myself credit for a job well done. It's the opportunity it gives me for self-improvement. And again, and the relationships and the people that I get to make music with and the relationships I've made. I mean, I wouldn't have met my wife if I wasn't flying to a festival in northern Sweden in 1993.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a lifeblood. Here's something I'd love to ask you as not just a creator, but also a listener and, someone who has music kind of baked in their DNA. Like what, and I know it's not something that can easily be named, but like, what do you look for in a song? Like if you're looking for something to just like, and I know it's one of those, I know it when I hear it, but like what is like a perfect song to you?
Perfect song is a song that reaches out to me. The song that has been looking for me and waiting for me. I felt that the first time I ever felt that was when I was 9 years old, and a record in Japanese, which was called Sukiyaki, came out, which was, you've probably heard of it. It was maybe the first viral hit in the world. Literally, I don't know if you know the story behind it, but there's a big Japanese community in Sacramento after the war because after the horrific internment camps, a lot of the Japanese Americans stayed and settled in Sacramento. A young man was visiting his uncle from Japan, and he brought a record with him by an artist named Kiyo Sakamoto. The song was called Ue o Muita Aruko. And his uncle knew someone at the radio station, played it once. The phones went crazy. And within the year, it was a #1 global hit because a disc jockey played it one time in Sacramento. That's the power of a melody. And they named it Sukiyaki because it was just a Japanese word that everybody could say.
Yeah.
But the actual lyric is Ue o Muita Aruko, which means something to the effect of I lean my face back to keep the tears from running down.
Wow.
And the melody and the sound of his voice and the orchestration, it reached out and touched me. And I felt the same thing when I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. And I wish I could feel more of that now from new music. I try. I go to the Spotify top 50, man, and it's bleak.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's your mistake. It's the top 50 because that's not where they hide the good stuff, Yeah. But that's why, oh, go ahead.
Look at top 10 charts from the 60s and the 70s and even the 80s. It's like, every song.
Yeah. My
kids who weren't even born yet, they know all those songs. Look at the top 10 from the past 20 years. Tell me 3 songs and which of those songs are wedding bands going to be playing in 10 years?
Right. I do some DJing on the side, and I'll get a request for a song, and I'm like, I've never heard this thing in my life. Like, I don't even know what it is. I'll look at it on like Spotify or like iTunes or something like that. It's not there. And then they'll be like, no, it's on SoundCloud or it's a TikTok. And I'm like,
Wow.
I'm like, how help me out here. Like, but it's true.
And I want to love it. I want something to come on and look for me, reach out and touch me.
Yeah, and that's why I appreciate a station like WXPN, because like they still have human beings listening to music and playing and sharing music that still can speak to me. Like, I told this story to someone recently, but I don't know if you're familiar with the song "Paprika" by Japanese Breakfast. No. But there's a tone in Michelle's voice, the front woman and main kind of creator behind it. There's a tone in her voice in the chorus that just absolutely hits me on a level that like I don't know how to formulate into words. It's just it's like it fills me with like this just powerful feeling of joy. All right. Yeah. And it's so rare that happens anymore. But it's just great. Like finding something like that is just absolutely incredible.
Yep. And a melody, something that you walk away singing.
Yes.
The thing you've just talked about, that's a moment in time. That's the sound of her voice singing that note. But if you heard your wife, your friend singing it, would that affect you the same way?
Right. Probably not.
That's the thing. It's like what I'm talking about is the combination of an amazing voice like that with a delivery like that, an emotional content like that, singing an undeniable melody and lyric that's timeless.
Yes, 100%.
Is that too much to ask? Why can't we just get more of that all the time?
Yes, why can't you just create this manna, this audio manna, and just give it out to the world?
And look, I'm as guilty as I try. I can't tell you the last time I wrote a great timeless song. I'm always trying. I think some of the work I've done with Alexis hopefully will get heard and will turn out to be that. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. Well, you definitely have. I mean, that's one of the things that has to feel really great is that you've created that for people. Like you have songs that are people's kind of that first time I heard, One of Us, like it was, and it was like, it was really breathtaking, and not just, like you said, not just lyrically, not just vocally, but just the entire combination of Joan's performance and the words and melodies that you wrote. Yep.
I mean,
and Alexis does an incredible version of it, or at least I heard her do an incredible version at that Low Cut Connie show.
Yep. No. Yeah. She's listen. She came to me at a time when I had sworn off working with new, untested, unsigned artists, and I heard her voice, and I thought, okay, I'll meet her. And we met, and it was just like, I just want to hang out with this person. And I love her voice, and I love her the way she writes songs, and she's family.
It's great.
We're family now.
It's absolutely great.
And that's at this point, it's as much about that for me as it is about anything. I don't have any illusions of writing another One of Us or a Time After Time. I've gotten mine. I do this because I love the people that I do it with, and I love the feeling I get, and that's my Jawn.
That's a beautiful. I want to thank you for doing this because, I had Dave Haas on the show and we were talking about you, and he was like, you got to get Eric on the show. And I was like, for fuck's sake. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I was like, it's not happening because I don't want him, but now it actually did happen. And I'm like, absolutely cool. Floored, because this was an epic conversation. And I'm so happy that you, and so thankful that you called back to wrap up, with me, because like I said, not my first concert, not my second concert, those were both David Bowie, but my third concert was the MMR 25th anniversary, which was the first time I got to see you guys live, and that was incredible. And one of my favorite concerts of all time was that final 2009 show at the Spectrum that you guys did with Hall & Oates and Todd Rundgren, which was just a magical night. So, like I said, man, you've been a lifeblood sonically throughout my entire life. So, I thank you so much, not just for doing the show, but also for creating all of the beautiful art that you've created. It's like absolutely amazing that you did this. So, thank you.
Cool, my pleasure. Thank you. Believe me, whatever you got out of it, I got more.
My thanks again to Eric for joining me on the show today. You can catch the Hooters on the I Want My 80s tour alongside Rick Springfield, Paul Young, and Tommy Two-Tone all across the United States through September. Tickets and dates are available at www.hootersmusic.com. Their new album, Rocking and Swing, is out now, and it's available on all streaming sites. And their new video is premiering this Friday, August 11th. For what song? I don't know. It's a surprise. Follow the Hooters on their socials at Hooters Music on Instagram and at The Hooters on Facebook and Twitter or X or whatever Elon has decided to call it this week. Links to all of those are in the show notes. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. And gang, you know it is not too late to get yourself a super awesome Jawn Scout merit badge for citizenship of the world just by rating and reviewing us. Don't forget to visit www.yothat'smyjawn.com for articles, merchandise, and links to all of the previous episodes of this show. And while you are there, be sure to sign up for our mailing list to get all of the updates delivered straight into your inbox. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/YoThat'sMyJawn for updates and live streams. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter X at YoThat'sMyJawn and search Yo That's My Jawn on YouTube to find the Yo That's My Jawn YouTube channel. Like and subscribe the heck out of that ish. We want to hear from you. Reach out, and touch some Jawn. Damn, that was a fun chat. Did you guys dig it? Because I really dug it. And I got some more dope chats on the horizon. Hope you join us again for another ride. Blue skies. Until next time, everybody.
Hey yo, displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure. Your taste in music doesn't have to be.
Yo, That's My Jawn is a Lonely Monk production written and produced by yours truly, Nate Runkle. Theme song by Phil Tyler Music featuring Nate 3.0. Special thanks to Fox Run Brands, DX Ferris, Andrew Scott, Natalie Runkle, and the incredibly brilliant and wickedly stunning Katie Daubney. If you or anyone you know has any ideas they would like to share or any guests they would like to hear on the podcast, please feel free to reach out to us at yothat'smyjawn@gmail.com. Or you can leave an audio message for us and possibly hear yourself on a future episode by visiting anchor.fm/ytmj/message. Until next time, be sure to displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure and shout to the world, yo, that's my Jawn.